Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Fiction Network. Marvel's Hokage System Additional requirements. Every 3,000 rewards, an additional one update will be added within 24 hours. The maximum limit is 5 chapters. Crossing the parallel world where Marvel and DC coexist, Jiang Li obtained the Hokage Exchange System. It's not about exchanging ninjutsu, it's about exchanging data packets for Hokage characters, so that Jiang Li can learn all the ninjutsu from the corresponding character's peak period. A beginner gift package from Li Locke, starting a legendary journey for Jiang Li. Hulk, you're very powerful, aren't you? Look at my watch Lianhua. Iron Man's armor is amazing, isn't it? See if you can withstand my sandstorm funeral. Thor, stop playing with the hammer. I summon a nine-tailed and stomp you to death. The emergence of character fusion mode has allowed Jiang Li to unleash Naruto to the limit. The technique of rebirth from the filthy soil destined Jiang Li to have a completely obedient super army. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 001. Kengda's System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Avengers, Magical 4, X.Men, Justice League. In this parallel world, there are many superhero teams. Some of these teams have alliance relationships, while others have hostile relationships. However, alliances or hostile relationships may occasionally change due to one person. From the moment Jiang Li crossed into this parallel world, he became such a person. Axwell Genius Youth School. This is a school specifically designed for mutants. Teaching them knowledge is secondary, and helping them learn to control their own abilities is the top priority. That is to say, this school only admits mutants. Interestingly, 10 years ago, the school admitted an ordinary person, who was none other than Jiang Li. Due to his lack of any mutant ability, Jiang Li was despised and even bullied by many students. At this moment, Jiang Li, who had just turned 18, was sitting on the edge of the school rooftop. Looking at the group of students playing happily under the teaching building, sometimes spewing out a fire, sometimes forming a ball of ice, and sometimes passing through other people's bodies, Jiang Li, who was holding his chin, was extremely depressed. When Jiang Li first crossed into this parallel world, he was extremely excited. The system administrator named Athena even told him that he could activate the Hokage system to help him acquire various skills in Hokage. In this way, fighting against those with abnormal abilities will also become very easy. Unfortunately, when preparing to activate the system, Athena said that he was not old enough and could only bind it at the age of 18, stating that this system could only be used at the age of 18 or above. So Athena entered hibernation, while Jiang Li lived in this parallel world as an ordinary person for a full 10 years. Taking out his phone, Jiang Li muttered, "Damn Athena, you said I would show up when I turn 18. It's been over 10 hours now, and this guy hasn't shown up yet." At this moment, Jiang Li saw a small car parked at the school gate, and a man and a woman got off the car. Jiang Li recognized the man as Wolverine and the woman as a mischievous little rascal. Seeing the tall and strong Wolverine, Jiang Li let out a long sigh. When Jiang Li first crossed into this parallel world dominated by Marvel and DC characters, he thought he could be better than Wolverine, Superman, Spider-Man, Thor, and others. However, he didn't expect that he would be so ordinary that he would always be ridiculed by his peers and even lower-level students. If he could choose again, he would rather go to hell for reincarnation than come to this haunted place where people are so angry that they are infuriating. Drip. The system is restarting. After hearing the voice of Athena in his mind, Jiang Li was filled with tears, but he couldn't help but curse in his heart. Sleep your mother. I rested for 10 years as soon as I fell asleep. As a result, your grandmother still slept in. DD, reboot completed. Host scanning in progress. Host scanning completed. May I ask if you are willing to bind souls to the Hokage character exchange system? At this moment, Jiang Li waited for a full 10 years, so when Athena's still yawning voice echoed in his mind, Jiang Li suddenly stood up and shouted, "I do." Jiang Li roared very loudly, and the students downstairs also heard him, so everyone raised their heads. This also includes Wolverine, who has just entered school, and Little Naughty, who is still wearing a black cloak. Looking at Jiang Li, who seemed to be about to jump off a building, the little mischievous person asked, "Who is that person?" At this moment, the fiery person beside him said, "He is the worst student in school. He is said to be a mutant, but he has no ability at all." "Oh, it seems like he has the ability. His ability is just to eat, drink, and play, Isn't this a school where everyone is equal?" asked the mischievous child. "Why are you harming others? Where is there a place where everyone is equal in this world?" Huo Renren said, "Whoever is powerful is the boss. Like that kind of trash, I think it's best for him to jump off a building directly. If there is a war between superhero teams in the future, he will definitely be the first to die." This teaching building is only 10 meters high, so of course Jiang Li heard their conversation. Among all the students, the fireman is the most arrogant, so Jiang Li decided that the first thing he did after activating the system was to completely abuse the fireman. One time doesn't seem enough, let's do it twice. Soul binding completed. Although the system has been activated and the soul has been bound, Jiang Li feels that there is not much difference between him and Athena during their dormant period. Is it possible that he has been tricked by this Pit Father's system? When I was brought to this parallel world by the system, it said that the Hokage character exchange system was super powerful, allowing the host to obtain all the ninjutsu from a certain Hokage character's peak period. If this is fake, then Jiang Li has been trapped alive for 10 years. Oh no, it may take more than 10 years, and it could be a trap in the future. The beginner gift package has been sent. Please check it. Seeing a newbie gift package, Jiang Li quickly opened it with his mind. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Li Locke packet. May I ask if you want to use it now? Surprisingly, it's Li Locke. P.S. In the early stages of this book, the main focus is on movie characters and abilities. In the later stages, there will be those bug-like characters in the manga, so there is no need to worry about the male protagonist being abused by the bug-like characters in the manga at the beginning. This is a refreshing article, not a cruel one. You can read it with confidence. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 002. Body Art Shadow Dance Leaf. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing Athena's voice, Jiang Li was extremely shocked. He truly did not expect a beginner's gift package to open the Li Luo data package. The function of this system, which has been cheating him for 10 years, is actually relatively simple. It allows him to obtain data packets for a certain character in Hokage, and then he can use the data packets on his own. Once used, he will learn all the abilities of the character. Take Li Locke as an example. If he uses this data packet, he can instantly learn powerful physical skills such as Lotus in his body spells. That is to say, by obtaining the data packet of a certain character, he can obtain the corresponding abilities of that character. But the most crucial thing is that the Huiying character data package is not something that can be obtained, it can only be obtained through system rewards. Completing different tasks will result in different packet rewards. The worst is the data packets for cannon fodder-like characters, such as some characters who don't even have a name. The best ones, of course, are data packets for awesome characters like Uchiha and Nagato. In short, Jiang Li is not sure whose data packet he will receive next time. But as long as there is a packet from Li Locke, then he can completely fight invincible in this parallel world. Hey! Jiang! The fiery man raised his head and provoked, "If you don't want to live, just jump down. Who are you scaring over there?" Upon hearing the fireman's words, the reward with a gentle smile immediately used Li Locke's data packet. Done. If the host obtains new packets, you can switch at any time. There are no restrictions. That is to say, if Jiang Li obtains a lot of character data packets, he can switch freely, which is really not ordinary power. After using it, Jiang Li, who was originally thin and weak, felt his entire body heating up, and the cells that made up his body were constantly fission. Li Locke is a master of physical arts, and his physical fitness is naturally so strong that it is somewhat outrageous. So, due to Jiang Li's use of the Li Locke data packet, the system is undergoing appropriate modifications to his body. In less than a minute, Jiang Li's body had undergone earth-shattering changes. Woodleaf whirlwind. The strong wind of wooden leaves. A great whirlwind of leaves. Shadow dance leaf. Table Lianhua. Lianhua. In an instant, all the usage methods of Li Locke's body techniques appeared in Jiang Li's mind. At that moment, Jiang Li felt like he had stepped on the entire world. Jiang Li, who had moved his arms and lowered his head, asked, "Are you talking to me?" "Haha. Who else besides you? Dare to fight me?" "Fight." The fireman laughed, "Be careful, I'll burn all the hair on your body with just one fire." A finger as a bet, Jiang Li, who looked down at the person on fire, "If you can make me unable to stand up or burn me with flames, then I will cut off my little finger and give it to you. If I make you unable to stand up, then you must cut off your little finger." Wolverine was also present, and upon hearing such a bet, Wolverine was startled. He was thinking about what kind of ruthless character that 18-year-old boy on the rooftop was, who had proposed such a bloody gambling game. Dare not. Huron was actually a bit timid, but because his classmates were all teasing him, he said, "Dare." After the fireman agreed, Jiang Li jumped down. Seeing this scene, many students exclaimed in surprise, feeling that Jiang Li was seeking death. Because they all thought Jiang Li was just an ordinary person, so jumping off from a height of 10 meters would result in a three-legged disability. But when Jiang Li landed steadily on the ground and a crack was left on the cement, the students were all stunned. Jiang Li is closest to Little Naughty, and Little Naughty was even more frightened by the momentum of Jiang Li's town. At this moment, Storm Girl standing by the window of the principal's office said, "Professor, Jiang Li and Huaman are dueling. Should we dissuade them?" Professor X sitting in a wheelchair said, "No need." "But their bet is just one finger," said Storm Girl. "You can sense that Jiang Li's body is like a mutant, but he hasn't shown any ability in the past decade, so I really think his ability may be very inconspicuous or almost useless. But Huron can control the flames freely. In this state, Jiang Li cannot win." "I know," Professor X said, "I don't know what Jiang Li's abilities are at the moment, but if he is pushed to the brink by the fireman, perhaps it can stimulate him to release his abilities." Professor X has said so, and of course, Storm Girl cannot say anything more. Because Jiang Li has always acted like an ordinary human, Storm Girl has been taking good care of Jiang Li over the years, completely treating him like a younger brother. So knowing that Jiang Li is in danger, Storm Girl will certainly be anxious. After dispersing his classmates, Jiang Li asked, "Fireman, are you ready?" "I was already prepared, Xiao Jiang Li," said the flaming man who was playing with a lighter. "Come on. Don't show mercy to me. This sentence is also what I want to say to you." After speaking, Huaman immediately opened the lighter and urged a flame to surge towards Jiang Li. The temperature of this flame was extremely high, and nearby students were frightened and retreated one after another. If burned, it can cause mild skin burning and severe death. In Jiang Li's eyes, this flame is simply a child's trick. With a contemptuous smile, Jiang Li quickly ran forward. In a flash, Jiang Li appeared behind the fireman. Seeing this scene, everyone in the room was stunned because Jiang Li's speed as he moved was like a phantom. Looking at the completely unprepared fireman, Jiang Li kicked him. Tissue wood leaf whirlwind. After kicking the fireman away with a wooden leaf whirlwind, Jiang Li quickly ran away when he saw the fireman slowly getting up. With 10 fingers supporting the ground, Jiang Li kicked the fireman on the chin, directly kicking him into the air. With a sudden thrust on the ground, Jiang Li leaped up like an arrow leaving a string. After jumping to a position higher than the fireman, Jiang Li slowly raised his right leg. Tissue shadow dance leaf. After Jiang Li's right leg hit the back of the fireman fiercely, the fireman, who was spitting out blood, fell to the ground. However, Jiang Li landed lightly on the ground like a butterfly. A little finger, Jiang Li said silently as he looked at the fiery figure with blood hanging from the corner of his mouth. Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 003. The Mischievous Woman. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After coughing up blood, Huaman said, "We are from the same school or classmates. You don't need to do this. Just do what you say, this is the man. Do you want to be a woman?" Jiang Li, who has been angry for 10 years, said, "If you dare not do it yourself, then I will do it myself. Anyway, I tell you, no matter who comes forward today, your finger cannot be saved." Seeing such a scene, Wolverine didn't want to intervene. Plus, today he is escorting the little rascal to see Professor X. So after winking at the little rascal, Wolverine walked forward with him. After Wolverine and Little Naughty left, Jiang Li had already walked to the side of the fireman. Huaran was so scared that he never expected to be completely abused by Jiang Li. He still wanted to beg for mercy from Jiang Li, but when he met Jiang Li's indifferent gaze, Huaran knew that Jiang Li would definitely not let him go. So, he made the most regretful move of his life. After grabbing the lighter on the ground and turning it on, the flaming man who grabbed a ball of flames immediately threw it towards Jiang Li. After avoiding on one side, Jiang Li kicked the fireman away. After sliding on the ground for several seconds, the fireman collided with the wall. As he walked towards the fireman, Jiang Li casually picked up the fruit knife placed on the fruit plate. Walking up to the fireman and squatting down, Jiang Li cut off the fireman's little finger without hesitation. Ah! The screams of the fireman scared many students away, leaving only a few brave ones to stay in place and watch. After patting the face of the fireman with a fruit knife soaked in blood, Jiang Li said, "This lesson can teach you to respect others, so don't think that the weak will always be weak, and even the weak will sometimes become strong." After speaking, Jiang Li directly threw the fruit knife aside. And by this time, Dr. Qin Gray had already arrived. She originally wanted to stop the fight, but unfortunately it was too slow. So after getting close to Jiang Li, Qin Gelei quickly gathered a few students and asked them to move the fireman to the medical room. She wanted to find a way to retrieve the fireman's broken finger. The fight with the fireman just now made Jiang Li very excited. He had no idea that he was so strong, so he planned to find an open space to practice his physical skills well, so that he could proficiently perform. However, as he was walking through the hall to the backyard, he was stopped by Storm Girl. "Are you saying that I did something wrong? Huaran has a bad temper and should be punished." "It's just a bit too much," said the Stormwind woman with a smile. "The professor is waiting for you, and I'll take you to see him." Subsequently, Jiang Li followed behind Storm Girl. At this moment, a student who walked up to the wall easily jumped onto the wall and landed outside after a backflip. This student is actually a transformation of a magical woman, so after landing, her appearance has changed, directly becoming a young woman posted on a poster on the wall. After moving her shoulders, the demonic woman called Magneto. After getting through, the demonic woman said, "I just saw the little rascal, but unfortunately, because Wolverine has been protecting her, I couldn't take her away. But just now I saw a mutant with some ordinary but magical abilities. His physical strength is so strong that his movement speed is almost on par with Fast Silver. Moreover, his leg strength has already reached the limit of the human body, so he can use his ability to move at high speed to avoid many mutant people and also give the opponent a fatal blow. I am not interested in mutants other than Little Mischievous. I just want to say that if you ignore him, he is likely to become your opponent in the future. I am Magneto, and no one in this world is my match. Why do you still want to catch the little rascal? You knowingly ask, said the Magneto King on the other end of the phone. Little Mischievous can absorb the abilities of mutants, making them weak in a short period of time. As long as we find a way to extract this ability from Little Mischievous, we can easily subdue supernatural beings like the Hulk and the Death Attendant. If they are not used by me, then kill them all. So my task is to catch the little rascal as soon as possible. Nature, said Magneto, be careful not to be discovered by Professor X. Don't worry, as long as no one uses telepathy with me, it's impossible to discover my identity, said the demonic woman. I'm currently outside taking some air, and I'll go back to school later. I hope to hear good news. Okay, goodbye. After hanging up, the demon-shaped woman walked into a cold drink shop. At this moment, Jiang Li had already followed Storm Girl into the office. In addition to them and Professor X, there are also Wolverine and Little Naughty in the office. Jiang Li, Professor X smiled and said, I sensed that you were also a mutant, so I brought you to school. But strangely, in the next 10 years, he behaved no different from an ordinary person, so I kept thinking if my perception was wrong. But seeing your performance today, I know you are indeed a mutant. So, what I want to know is, why did you only show up today? == PS. I am a full-time author with guaranteed updates. I hope everyone can support me a lot. If there are any shortcomings in writing, please forgive me. Then this book is mainly based on movies by Marvel and DC, supplemented by comics. Everyone can provide any suggestions or opinions in the book review section. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 004. Wolverine also defeated. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Professor X is a kind-hearted elder who has never mocked or ridiculed Jiang Li during his 10 years at school. Because he is an orphan in this parallel world, Professor X occasionally calls him to celebrate during festivals. Because of this, Jiang Li still respects Professor X very much. So, looking at Professor X with a gentle smile, Jiang Li said, Professor, you told me that many abilities only appear during adolescence. I just turned 18 today, which can be considered as officially entering puberty, so it's not surprising that I can use abilities now. Then tell me what your ability is. I just run very fast and have more strength. Well, through the battle just now, I can also see it. Let me ask you again, why did you cut off the finger of the fireman? This is warning him to know that the weak are not meant to be bullied. So how do you think we should treat the weak? If the weak are good, then naturally pity is necessary. If the weak themselves are evil, then there is no need for pity, just beat them to death. If they have committed heinous acts, then killing them directly is not a big deal. Punishing evil and promoting good is good, Professor X said with a smile, but in everything, we must grasp a certain degree in order to win over the masses. Professor, are you saying that I shouldn't treat Fireman like this? It's just that I started a little harder, but it can teach Fireman how to treat others, Professor X said after a pause. This is Wolverine, this is a little mischievous. Wolverine can be considered an old senior among our mutants, older than me, but on the surface, it's only 30 or 40 years old. Because Jiang Li's abilities have only awakened today, I want you to have a friendly exchange. Wolverine is belligerent, and when he was just observing the battle below, he actually wanted to take action. Of course it's not the firefighter, but I want to try whether it's Jiang Li's martial arts or his claws. So when Professor X suddenly proposed this, the blood inside Wolverine began to boil. As for Jiang Li, he also wanted to know whether it was Li Locke's physical skills or Wolverine's claws. So, after looking at each other, the two of them extended their hands to their opponents. After shaking hands with each other, Jiang Li said, "Let's go to the backyard. It's very spacious there, you can have a good sparring." "Okay. Get up in the backyard." In addition to the two of them, there are also Professor X, Storm Girl, and Little Naughty accompanying them. Arriving at the backyard, the two stood at one end and took on a confrontational posture. At this moment, many students were standing by the window of the dormitory building, including the demonic woman who had become a student. If Professor X uses telepathy, it is likely that the demonic woman will be found. But Professor X never expected that the demon-shaped woman who was mixed up with Magneto would be here, so of course, he wouldn't use it recklessly, which would damage the spiritual telepathy. Just as Wolverine was about to charge towards Jiang Li suddenly raised his right hand. Surrender. "No, I forgot to bring my weapon. I thought you only knew martial arts." "Well, that's right. Currently, I only know martial arts, but weapons are still necessary," Jiang Li asked as he approached the mischievous child. "Can you give me your belt?" The little rascal didn't know what Jiang Li was going to do, but she still untied her belt and handed it to Jiang Li. And when she saw Jiang Li tying his belt directly around her waist, her mischievous eyes widened slightly, and she had no idea what Jiang Li was doing. Not only Jiang Li, but also the others present couldn't understand Jiang Li's thoughts. Returning to his original position, Jiang Li, who had been imprisoned, said, "Let's start." After Jiang Li roared, the roaring Wolverine immediately charged towards Jiang Li. Wolverine is a Caucasian, with a sturdy physique that resembles a gorilla. Presumably Wolverine, belonging to the hardcover type, Jiang Li appears much smaller. So, many students feel that Jiang Li is bound to lose. With his body leaning forward and his center of gravity focused on his chest, Jiang Li quickly ran forward, like a phantom. Flashing behind Wolverine, Jiang Li, who was carrying a gust of flying dust, wanted to unleash the wood industry whirlwind. However, just as he was about to unleash it, Wolverine suddenly turned around. After revealing its claws made of Edelman alloy, Wolverine roared and immediately rode towards Jiang Li. Upon seeing this, Jiang Li, whose lips slightly curled up, said, "Wolverine, compared to me, your actions are still not agile enough, with numerous flaws. I don't care if I'm agile or not. Anyway, if I can hurt you, that's victory." "Okay. That's what I think too." As soon as Jiang Li finished speaking, the claws of Wolverine had already scratched Jiang Li's face. More precisely, it is the residual image left by the high-speed movement of Jiang Li. Seeing a sudden rise of dust around, Wolverine was startled. He never expected that Jiang Li's running speed would be so fast that even his eyes couldn't catch it. This ability alone has already surpassed many mutants. Find the flaw. After thinking to himself, Jiang Li suddenly flashed in front of Wolverine. That's right. It flashed directly in front of Wolverine. The distance between the two is less than 10 centimeters. Tissue wood leaf whirlwind. Before Wolverine could react, Jiang Li had already kicked Wolverine away. Upon seeing the scene of Wolverine flying, Professor X was shocked and exclaimed, "How could it run like a phantom? And it could also kick Wolverine, who had already taken his horse stance, away. How strong is this footwork really?" Not only Professor X, but even the demon-shaped woman who has experienced countless battles was frightened by Jiang Li's ghostly movement speed. In shock to the onlookers, Jiang Li, full of confidence, quickly rushed towards Wolverine. The Wolverine, who had not yet landed, had guessed the move Jiang Li was going to use, but the key was that he was flying in mid-air and unable to defend himself. In the frightened gaze of Wolverine, Jiang Li, who flashed under Wolverine, had already propped himself up on the ground with both hands. The advantage of this posture is that it can concentrate all the strength of the body on the legs, which is 3 times stronger than the force brought by simply standing and kicking. Tissue's Shadow Dance Leaf. With Jiang Li's swift and fierce kick, Wolverine flew into the air like a ball. With a flash of his figure, Jiang Li appeared behind Wolverine. The first door of the 8 escaping armors is open. After lifting the restriction on the first gate, Jiang Li's stamina quickly surged to a new level. At the moment when Wolverine fell down, Jiang Li untied the belt he had just borrowed from Little Naughty. With a casual dance, the belt wrapped around the body of the Wolverine, binding both of its hands. Ba men dun jia biao Lianhua. After hugging Wolverine, Jiang Li quickly spun around, and the Wolverine tightly embraced by Jiang Li was no exception. Their rotation speed is extremely fast, so fast that one can only see a white shadow. Realizing that Jiang Li was going to land Wolverine's head on the ground, Professor X, who was frightened, quickly shouted, "Jiang Li, stop it. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 005. Actually, my abilities are not insignificant. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After Professor X roared out, the Stormwind girl beside her hurriedly said, with such a high speed rotation, even if Jiang Li stops now, there is a 100% chance that Wolverine's head will land on the ground. Professor X knew that Stormwind was telling the truth, but he had hoped it would be a friendly exchange and that one side should not be seriously injured. Therefore, as he watched the white whirlwind getting closer to the ground, Professor X's eyebrows had already furrowed very tightly. Wolverine's body tissue regeneration ability is extremely powerful. As long as his body is not completely destroyed, he can self-heal over time. However, even so, Professor X still does not want to see Wolverine, who was severely injured due to his head hitting the ground. Less than 3 meters above the ground, Jiang Li suddenly separated from Wolverine and kicked the disoriented Wolverine to one side with a flying kick. As Jiang Li landed steadily, Wolverine crashed into the wall with a thud, causing several cracks to appear on the wall, even slightly concave. Upon seeing this scene, both Professor X and Storm breathed a sigh of relief, while the demonic woman watching the battle felt somewhat uninteresting. She had originally thought she could see the bloody scene. "Ha!" Wolverine, who was sitting on the ground, exclaimed excitedly after taking a heavy breath. "It's been a long time since I've experienced this feeling of dying. Jiang Li, you're really amazing. Heroes have always been young. It seems like an old antique like me should retire now." After walking up to Wolverine and unbuttoning his belt, Jiang Li pulled up Wolverine and said, "My ability has only awakened today, so I couldn't control it just now." "At least you managed to control it in the end," Wolverine said. "My bones are made of Edelman alloy, which is almost the hardest metal on Earth. But if I land on the ground while spinning rapidly, it will definitely take me a long time to recover, so I should thank you for being kind to me. Is this a friendly sparring?" After shaking hands with Jiang Li, the King Kong wolf with a rough smile said, "Even if you saved my life today, if you need any help in the future, you can call me anytime. Please remember my phone number." After taking down the number, Jiang Li said, "Actually, I want to spar with you a few more times." "Forget it, I'm an old bone that can't withstand any trouble," Wolverine chuckled. "If you're going to fight, you should go find the Hulk. He's a great opponent. Of course, I'm talking about combat power, not his character. That guy has a worse temper than me, and if he gets angry, the entire neighborhood could be flattened by him. Is he currently a member of the Avengers Alliance?" "Yeah." Wolverine said, "I don't like Iron Man either. He's so arrogant. I really want to go see them for a while another day." "There will definitely be a chance," said Wolverine Kong after patting Jiang Li's shoulder. "You've been in school for a long time, so you always feel that this is a peaceful world. But I tell you, on Earth or other planets, battles are happening every moment. Your abilities have awakened, and perhaps one day you will also become a warrior. Come on, Jiang Li. After speaking, Wolverine walked over and said a few words to Professor X before leaving. After walking up to the mischievous little rascal and shaking his dusty belt, Jiang Li smiled and asked, "Do you want this one, or should I buy you a new one?" Before the little rascal could speak, Jiang Li continued, "Let me buy you a new one." When Wolverine fell too hard just now, there were already several cracks on it. "No need," said the timid little rascal, "just this one. Anyway, I don't often use a belt. Why do you wrap yourself so tightly?" Jiang Li said, "It's summer now, and you're still wearing a long-sleeved cloak and black gloves. Isn't that very uncomfortable? My abilities are somewhat unique. What's a special law? You come with me, I don't want to say it here." After walking to the corner of the backyard with Jiang Li, I made sure there were no other mischievous people around me and said, "My ability is actually very weak. When I touch someone's body with my hands, the energy in their body will be absorbed by me, whether it's an ordinary person or a mutant. Anyway, that's why I ran away from home and made myself almost like an insulator. Jiang Li, do you think I'm useless and shouldn't come to the mutant school? Your abilities are amazing." Jiang Li said, "If you ever fight enemies in the future and find a way to touch them, wouldn't you just subdue them? And no matter what kind of mutant you are, you can deal with them like this. Isn't that very, very powerful?" The little rascal's face turned red when Jiang Li praised him so much. It can be said that this is the first time in her life that someone has praised her abilities like this. It is precisely because of Jiang Li's praise that the once-lost little rascal has made up his mind to stay. After they chatted for a while, Storm Girl walked over and asked Jiang Li to take Xiao Naughty to the room to rest. Because Jiang Li said he wanted to buy a belt for the little rascal, he took him to his room and the two of them left school together. But Jiang Li didn't know that the demonic woman was following them. Drop. The reward gift package has been sent. Please check it. After hearing Athena's sudden voice, Jiang Li was somewhat puzzled. How could there be a reward package if he hasn't completed the task assigned by the system? Oh, it should be because I just defeated Wolverine. Considering this, Jiang Li, who was walking to the store with the little mischievous person, has already opened the reward package. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 006. Mu Yiwan Data Package. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Didi, congratulations on obtaining the Monkey Flying Wood Leaf Pill Data Package. Monkey Flying Wood Leaf Pill. Ah. Surprisingly, it's this guy. System Namabo. You must be here to trick me. Trapped me for 10 years. Surprisingly, this time I was tricked with a data packet from my Maru. May I ask if it is used? Upon hearing Athena's voice, Jiang Li couldn't calm down. No way, in his impression, Kayamaru is the little ghost who always walks around with 2 followers and occasionally uses the cesium lure technique. But because the data packets obtained are from the peak period of each Hokage character, it is unlikely that Kiba Maru's data packets are only correct for the cesium lure technique. Of course, Jiang Li doesn't know when the peak period of the system is. Anyway, the system the final say what kind of ninja is included in the data packet. After opening the data packet of my Maru with his mind, Jiang Li was startled. The art of transformation. Hiding technique. Cesium lure technique. Cesium seduction technique for women. Cesium-induced postoperative palace dance. Shadow clone technique. Spiral ball. Diyu spiral pill. Jiang Li was overjoyed to see so much ninjutsu in the data packet. The probability of using the cesium lure technique is very low, but the shadow clone technique and spiral pill are simply essential skills for battling superheroes. Moreover, the transformation technique is also amazing. Since the data package contains so many highly practical ninjutsu techniques, Jiang Li naturally used them directly. After using it, Jiang Li realized that her body had also undergone some changes. Mu Yiwan can use ninjutsu and must use chakra. So when he used the data packet of my Maru, chakra also appeared in his body. This chakra flows like blood in his body, he can completely feel it. Just one thing, he's not sure if the chakra in his body is constantly flowing. If not, then we must find a time to determine the amount of chakra, so that we can be more adept in future battles. Although switching is necessary when using each character's data packet, it is not much different from using ninjutsu that can simultaneously use each character because seamless switching can be achieved. Thinking of this, Jiang Li suddenly burst out laughing. Upon seeing this, the mischievous little rascal asked, "What's wrong?" "Today is a good day." "Are you saying the weather is good?" said the little mischievous person, raising his head. For Jiang Li, today is indeed a great day. Having been in this parallel world for 10 years, he can finally feel proud. In the previous decade, he didn't have a very oppressive life, but he had a very unpleasant time, especially when he was looked down upon by some students. For a whole decade, he waited for Athena to awaken. So when Athena woke up and gave him the data packet of Li Locke, he would use the fireman to brush and play so well with Wolverine. If it weren't for the mischievous little rascal around, Jiang Li would have wanted to sing Song Zuying's song, "Today is a good day." As he was walking, Jiang Li suddenly stopped. Jiang Li noticed someone following him, but he didn't turn around. Instead, he stared at the rearview mirror of the parked car next to him. Through the rearview mirror, Jiang Li saw a wife standing about 5 meters away from them. This old lady doesn't seem to have any attacking power at all, but because she keeps staring at them and doesn't move, Jiang Li naturally finds it strange. After noticing that the corner of the old lady's mouth suddenly curled up, revealing a meaningful smile, Jiang Li was already certain that the old lady was going to attack him or the little mischievous person. It should be a little mischief, after all, his abilities are so special. With this in mind, Jiang Li continued to walk forward and whispered, "Someone is tracking us, and her target should be you. But I'm not sure about her identity, so from now on, you need to listen to my arrangements. First, don't look back. Second, do whatever I ask you to do. Now, you and I will walk to the public restroom in front of us, and we will go into the women's restroom together." The little rascal was somewhat shocked. It's not because of being tracked, but because they want to go to the women's restroom with Jiang Li. Little Mischievous doesn't suspect that Jiang Li has a special hobby, but is it okay for a big man to swagger into the women's restroom like this? Despite doubts, the little rascal did not speak up. Because Jiang Li was the first person to praise her and also the first person to make her feel that she could confide in her. After entering the women's restroom together, Jiang Li let the little rascal go to the small restroom, which was the kind with a small door blocking it, and allowed the little rascal to come out only with his permission. Ninjutsu Transformation Technique. Bang! After transforming into a mischievous appearance, Jiang Li walked out. At this moment, the demonic woman who had already transformed into a noble woman walked into the women's restroom. Because she didn't follow too closely before, the demonic woman thought that Jiang Li had gone to the men's restroom, so she planned to knock out the mischievous little rascal in the women's restroom and bring him back to meet Magneto. Just as she stepped into the women's restroom, the demon-shaped woman saw the little mischievous person walking towards her. To be precise, it is the use of transformation techniques to transform into a mischievous Jiang Li. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 007. Is no match at all. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the moment when Jiang Li looked at the demonic woman, he already felt the other person's ill intentions. Because his gaze was almost the same as that of the old lady before, Jiang Li immediately realized that the opponent he encountered was a demon-shaped woman. Magic-shaped women can freely change their own cells and tissue structure, allowing them to transform into anyone's appearance, including iris, fingerprints, skin texture, voice, and even gender. Wearing clothes can also mimic the texture of any clothing, even glasses. Therefore, she rarely really wears clothes. She can also change the position of her body organs to prevent fatal harm to her body in times of crisis. Although the demonic woman can replicate the appearance of others, and even some people's physical abilities, she cannot truly replicate the abilities of others. In short, the demon-shaped woman is an extremely special mutant. But Jiang Li is not afraid of the demonic woman, but instead finds her very interesting. After passing by the demonic woman, Jiang Li walked out. The person that the demon-shaped woman wanted to catch was a little mischievous, and now Jiang Li has become a little mischievous again, so she lingered in the women's restroom for less than 5 seconds before immediately walking out. Afraid of being recognized, the demon-shaped girl turned into an innocent-looking 18-year-old girl with long braids. After leading the demon-shaped woman into an empty alley, Jiang Li stopped. Turning around and looking at the demonic woman who had transformed into a young girl, Jiang Li said, "Demonic woman, long time no see." The demon-shaped woman thought she was talking to a little mischievous person, so this greeting surprised her particularly. Taking 2 steps back, the demonic woman asked, "How do you know it's me?" "There's no way, you're so attractive," Jiang Li said with a chuckle. "Actually, you don't need to follow Magneto. If you follow me, I can make your life better. If you want me to live a better life, then you can come with me," said the demonic woman who reached out to Jiang Li. Charles is a pacifist, and he hopes that mutants can coexist peacefully with ordinary people, but this is simply impossible. We mutants are the best race, and only we mutants have the right to rule this world. Magneto likes your abilities, so as long as you are willing to help Magneto, you won't have to hide in school like a mouse. You don't seem to know who I am. After speaking, Jiang Li has already lifted the transformation technique. How could this be? The demonic woman was completely frightened. How could you possibly transform like me? I have the same abilities as you. Speaking, Jiang Li directly transformed into the appearance of Wolverine. The demonic woman couldn't believe that there were people in this world who had the same abilities as her, so she was frightened and retreated repeatedly. "I ask you," Jiang Li said, staring at the demonic woman, "are you planning to continue following Magneto or follow me? What can you bring me? Standing at the top of all races, looking down on this world as a king." "You're just joking," said the demonic woman, who had turned into a blue-skin state. "Earth is just a planet in the banking system. There are many more powerful creatures in the entire galaxy than you, me, or other mutants. Just the Thor in the Avengers, you have no way to deal with it. Standing at the top of all races, are you not afraid of being laughed at? I have never paid attention to some short-sighted people. Anyway, I won't follow you. And I want to take the little rascal away." Seeing the demonic woman turn around and run, Jiang Li immediately chased forward. With leg strength that exceeded the limits of the human body, a smoke like Jiang Li had already run to the demon-shaped woman. Upon seeing this, the demonic woman kicked towards Jiang Li. After grabbing the foot of the demon-shaped woman directly, Jiang Li smiled and said, "If I'm not mistaken, you're the only mutant among all mutants who doesn't wear anything. Although you have a layer of skin like blue rubber, the feel is still pretty good. And I've noticed that your figure is good, just like a professional model. Follow me and I'll let you taste the feeling of being under one person and above 10,000 people." "I'm not interested." Shouting out loud, the other foot of the demonic woman also kicked towards Jiang Li, but she was still caught. After propping her hands on the ground, the demonic woman exerted all her strength to make her feet kick Jiang Li's chest. Unfortunately, Jiang Li's dexterity was so strong that she could compete with the green giant, so the demon woman couldn't move at all. Just then, a patrol car suddenly drove towards us. Immediately after transforming into a junior high school student, the demonic girl began to cry. Seeing this, Jiang Li said, "Don't forget, it's not just you who can deform. Ninjutsu transformation technique. Bang! Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 008. Teacher Gelei. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Magic-shaped girl has become a junior high school student, while Jiang Li has become an old lady who has previously transformed from magic-shaped girl. Seeing this, the demonic woman's face showed a look of fear. She had no idea that Jiang Li's transformation ability was being used so maturely. At this moment, the police car stopped next to it. After shaking down the window and looking at the old lady holding the hand of a junior high school girl, the police officer asked, "What's the situation?" Squinting her eyes, Jiang Li said, "My granddaughter is not obedient and insists on playing with the little thugs in society. Well, I'm holding on to her and won't let her go. Just grab your hands, don't grab your feet, it looks strange enough." After laughing, the police had already driven away. Looking at the demon-shaped woman with wide eyes, Jiang Li said, "You can't escape. What exactly do you want?" "I said, I just want you to be my subordinate. You guy who hasn't even grown hair wants to dominate me. Are you sure my hair hasn't grown even?" Seeing Jiang Li's malicious smile, the struggling demonic woman said, "If you can defeat the Magneto King, then I am willing to obey you unconditionally. It sounds like a good deal. Do you think you can defeat Magneto? How do you know if you don't try?" Jiang Li said after releasing his hand, "You go back and tell Wansuwang that I, Jiang Li, am waiting for him at school. If he doesn't dare to come to school to find me, just make a few appointments. By the way, if he dares to have any mischievous ideas again, I will directly destroy the mutant brotherhood he created." After speaking, Jiang Li wanted to release the demonic woman directly, but realizing that it was not appropriate to do so, Jiang Li suddenly pulled back the legs of the demonic woman. With this tug, the demon-shaped woman's legs were forced apart and she clamped onto the outer sides of Jiang Li's legs. If neither of them is dressed, this position however, Jiang Li did not want to rub against the demonic woman. He took advantage of the fact that the demonic woman was close to him and slapped her in the back of the neck, directly knocking her unconscious. After fainting, the demonic woman transformed into her original form. Carrying the demon-shaped woman, Jiang Li walked towards the direction of the public restroom. After entering the women's restroom and knocking on the small bathroom where Xiao Naughty was located, Jiang Li said, "You can come out now." "Who's outside?" Realizing that he had not lifted the transformation technique, Jiang Li quickly lifted it and let the little Mischievous come out again. Upon hearing Jiang Li's voice, the little rascal immediately opened the door. Seeing the demon-shaped woman on Jiang Li's back, little Naughty was startled. "Give me the cloak, I need to put it on her, otherwise it will be too conspicuous on the way back." "Well, good." After draped the cloak over the demonic woman, Jiang Li immediately brought the demonic woman and the little rascal back to school. He was originally going to accompany the little rascal to buy a belt, but because he was still carrying a demonic woman in a coma, he temporarily stopped buying a belt. Returning to school, Jiang Li threw the demonic woman onto the bed in his room and then went to find teacher Gelei. In school, Gelei is also a doctor, which happens to meet Jiang Li's requirements. After completing the surgery for the fireman, Gelei had just returned to her room when the door was knocked. "Please come in." Seeing Jiang Li walking in, Gelei smiled and asked, "Are you looking for me to inquire about the injuries of Huron?" "No. At least I'll ask, after all, you guys are classmates," Gelei said with a smile. "I've already helped him connect his severed finger, and now he's not in any danger. When he was undergoing surgery just now, he even said that he usually underestimates you, so when he has time, he will apologize specifically to you. It doesn't matter if he apologizes or not. Anyway, I have already punished him," Jiang Li said as he walked up to Gelei. "Last week, teacher, you mentioned that there is a tracker in the school that can be directly implanted into the human body. Coincidentally, I brought someone who needs to be tracked, so I want you to help me implant a tracker into her body. Who? Magic-shaped woman. Gelei knew that the demon woman was the top general under the Magneto King, so when Jiang Li spoke out, Gelei, who was startled, asked in reverse, "Where is the demon woman now?" "In my room." "Did you catch her, or did she bring her to the door herself?" "She planned to take away the little rascal, so I knocked her unconscious and brought her back." I always felt that Magneto wanted to engage in some shady activities, so if we could always determine the location of the magical woman, it would be much easier to find them in the future. "Well, that's fine. Then you go to your room and wait, and I'll go to the medical room to get the equipment." "Okay." Subsequently, Jiang Li returned to his room. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Gelei walked in with a needle in her hand. Upon seeing this, Jiang Li asked, "Where's the tracker?" "Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 009. Black Widow, 1/4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gelei, who smiled, said, "The tracker is inside this syringe. It's tiny and difficult to see with the naked eye, so it's difficult to detect when implanted in the human body. Of course, because the tracker emits radio waves, it's still possible to be detected. It's okay, just implant it directly." Walking to the bedside, Gelei injected a needle into the arm of the demonic woman and implanted a miniature tracker directly into her blood vessels. After completing this step, Gelei installed the software that matched the tracker on Jiang Li's phone. After teaching Jiang Li how to use it, Gelei left. Afterwards, Jiang Li took the demonic woman out of the school and directly placed her in the grass. Half an hour later, the demonic woman woke up. After shaking her groggy head, the demonic woman sat up. She doesn't know why she's here, but she must tell Magneto about Jiang Li's situation. Her movement speed is comparable to that of Fast Silver, her hand and foot strength is comparable to that of Iron Man, and she can transform into anyone like her, so she is a special mutant with comprehensive strength above her. If Jiang Li could be brought under his command, the strength of the mutant brotherhood would greatly increase. The demon-shaped woman has made such a plan, but can she achieve it? As the demonic girl left, Jiang Li was practicing ninjutsu in a forest that was quite far from school. He wanted to test Chakra's limits. Ninjutsu Shadow Clone Technique. After transforming into a physical clone, Jiang Li made an eagle claw shape on his right hand. Ninjutsu Spiral Pills. As the spiral ball was activated, the chakra, like a thin stream, began to gather in his palm and gradually formed a spherical vortex. He originally wanted another physical clone to help him compress chakra, but he realized that he could handle it alone, so he immediately made the other clone disappear. After compressing chakra to its limit and forming a small typhoon, Jiang Li roared, "Spiral Maru." With a roar, Jiang Li suddenly pressed the spiral pill towards a nearby tree. In an instant, the spiral ball penetrated the tree body, and powdered sawdust flew everywhere. After completing this step, Jiang Li did not release the spiral pill, but squatted directly and pressed the spiral pill, which was still spinning rapidly, towards the rock. Accompanied by a piercing buzzing sound, the spiral pill made a hole on the rock that was over 20 centimeters deep. After releasing the spiral pill, Jiang Li let out a heavy breath. Touching the inner wall of the cave entrance, Jiang Li was scalded and let out a click. Due to rotary cutting, the temperature on the surface of the incision is very high, and the surface is extremely smooth, without any concave or convex marks, which is enough to prove that the rotation speed of the spiral shot is at least 10 times faster than that of an electric saw. And because there were still many chakras left in Jiang Li's body, he began practicing other ninjutsu techniques in the data package of Mu Yi Wan, including the cesium lure technique. Half an hour later, Jiang Li realized that the chakra in his body was still very full. Cesium-induced technique, female technique. Bang! Bang! Two incredibly beautiful girls appeared in front of Jiang Li. These two girls didn't wear anything and hugged each other, even casting seductive glances at Jiang Li. Haha! It was not Jiang Li who laughed, but a woman who had been hiding in a tree. After lifting the cesium lure, Jiang Li, who was holding his head high, suddenly jumped up. Tissue wood leaf whirlwind. The other party was squatting on the branch of the tree, covered by leaves, so they thought Jiang Li couldn't find anyone. But when she saw Jiang Li's feet suddenly approaching her, she quickly fell back. After tumbling in mid-air, she landed steadily on the ground, while Jiang Li stood in the position where she had just squatted. After raising her head, she said, "The hospitality of your Axville Genius Youth School is really enthusiastic. I almost got kicked away by you. I'm Natasha, but I believe you're used to calling me Black Widow." Looking at the smiling Black Widow, Jiang Li jumped onto the ground and asked, "Why are you here?" "I came specifically to find Professor X," said the Black Widow. "I actually had to go to school before, but I felt that your whereabouts were a bit suspicious. I was afraid that you were intentionally infiltrating the school and causing damage, so I followed you here. I realized that your ability is really special, so special that I don't even know how to look like it. You can create a high-speed rotating light ball out of thin air, and even transform into another self, and even two beautiful women. This kind of disease is not derived from cellular mutations. It's really interesting. Can you tell me what's going on? If you can beat me. Okay, then I'll have a fight with you," the Black Widow said after clenching her fists and posing for battle. 1.1, "Don't let anyone else come and help." "Okay." Jiang Li said, overlapping his hands behind him. "This is the first time we meet, I'll give you 2 more hands. Don't underestimate me. Many men have suffered this loss." With a curled corner of her mouth, the Black Widow immediately rushed towards Jiang Li. A cold wind blew the Black Widow's hair up, and this cold wind was Jiang Li's masterpiece. With the help of speeding, Jiang Li flashed behind the Black Widow in just half a second and whispered, "You exposed the back to me, it's very fatal. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 010. Favorite Spicy Girl, February 4th. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The ghostly movement speed makes the Black Widow's eyes locked. Since you can't even lock your eyes, it's impossible to determine where Jiang Li will appear. But the Black Widow had always been arrogant, so she suddenly pushed her elbow backwards without saying a word. The Black Widow's move was extremely fast, but it was completely within Jiang Li's expectations. After easily avoiding it, Jiang Li used Li Locke's best technique. Tissue wood leaf whirlwind. The quick kicks directly knocked the Black Widow to the ground, while Jiang Li, like a carp, stood up steadily. Watching the Black Widow sit on the ground and pat the withered leaves on her body, Jiang Li asked, "If I let you have 2 hands and 2 feet, can you beat me?" "All right, I surrender," the Black Widow said after raising her hands. "Your movement speed is as fast as lightning. Even if you let me have both hands and feet, I won't be able to win. So, I want to borrow your help from Professor X. Can you lend me a hand?" "Well," said the Black Widow, Banner, also known as the Hulk, became very irritable last time he fought in Los Angeles. The day before yesterday, he had an argument with Iron Man Tony, and his rationality was replaced by irritability, which awakened the Hulk that he had previously suppressed. Now he is in the tropical rainforest of northern Australia and completely does not allow us to approach him. Yesterday, Tony flew to talk to him, but was directly knocked away. The only Thor who can draw with the Hulk is in the Fairy Palace, and I don't know when he will come to Earth. That's why I came to Professor X, hoping to defeat the Hulk with a person of comparable strength. The only way is to defeat the Hulk. Only by defeating the giant can Banner regain control of that body. The Hulk is almost synonymous with invincibility, so Jiang Li, who smiled, asked, "Do you think I can? You make me unable to even fight back." "Of course I can." Drop. Release a new mission. Release Robert Bruce Banner's Fury State. You can obtain a Fire Shadow character data pack. Jiang Li originally intended to refuse the Black Widow, but upon hearing Athena's sudden words, he asked, "What are the benefits?" "What benefits do you want?" After thinking for a moment, Jiang Li said, "If I help you, then you owe me a favor. No matter what kind of demands I make to you in the future, you must obey unconditionally." "This seems a bit excessive," the Black Widow smiled. "What if you let me die?" "No, at most it will make you leave the Avengers League." "What are you up to?" "I don't know either," Jiang Li said with a smile. "Anyway, if you want me to help you, you must agree to my request. You first state your requirements, I'll see if I can do it." "If we say it now, it won't be interesting," Jiang Li, who turned around and walked away. "I don't like to force others, especially beautiful women, so let's pretend we haven't met before and ask someone else." "Wait. I'll just promise you." Upon hearing the words of the Black Widow, Jiang Li immediately turned around and walked towards her. After shaking hands with the Black Widow, Jiang Li said, "The deal is established. Just go back and let the professor know and we can set off." One day later, in Northern Australia. "Ah. That bastard Banner. I really don't know what to say about him. Isn't it just a verbal altercation? Is it necessary to make this happen?" "Captain, listen, that bastard Banner is shouting again, it's like." Before Tony could finish speaking, he had already seen a big tree in the rainforest fall with a loud bang. Upon seeing this scene, Tony's eyelids twitched several times and he said, "This is already the 98th tree. If he knocks down 2 more trees, he will get a perfect score." Upon hearing Tony's complaint, Captain America Steve said, "If it weren't for you saying that the Hulk couldn't find a girlfriend, he wouldn't have been angry. We men all love face, how could we be as damaging as you are? What hurts you the most is not that he can't find a girlfriend, but that even if he finds a girlfriend and gets excited while doing it, he might have been penetrated by her. Brother. I'm just telling the truth. We are a team, and speaking should go through mental thinking. You are the smartest person in the alliance. Oh my goodness. Your captain has started educating me again." Tony, lying on the folding bed sunbathing, said. "If it weren't for fear of Bennett rushing out, I would definitely bring several spicy girls here to sing and dance. Then you can wait to collect the bodies of those spicy girls." At this moment, they simultaneously heard the sound of helicopter propellers. Seeing it was a military helicopter, the two of them who knew the Black Widow was bringing reinforcements stood up at the same time. After the helicopter landed safely, the Black Widow who jumped off the helicopter first asked, "Where is Eagle Eye?" "He left first and said he would call him if he needed any more help." "It's okay. I brought a very powerful helper." Under the gaze of the three of them, Jiang Li jumped to the ground. Tony, who looked like a high school student with his chin almost falling to the ground, said, "This body is stiff. It's not enough for Banner to punch him." Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.